Hello and welcome to this episode. My name is Emma Ritchie, and in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you a human who has had such a profound impact on my life. His name is Jesse Correll. I have been very, very lucky to have been coached one-on-one by Jesse, and in my opinion, he is a world-class coach. I am so grateful that he came into my life and has helped me navigate some really challenging times. In this episode, Jesse is going to share his story, which is fascinating. He came from a massive corporate background, project managing multi-million dollar projects, and then went through his own dark night of the soul, just where he felt like he was going crazy. He felt like he didn't know who he was anymore, and his world fell apart. And that's what really drove him into this work. And now he gets to be of service and to help so many people. And I know so many people who have just benefited from him. So I'm so excited to share him in this podcast. There are just nuggets of gold that he just downloads and drops. And I know wherever you are in your life, whatever's going on, you are definitely going to benefit from listening to what Jesse has to say. So I will see you on the other side. Let's get started. So, Jesse, welcome to the Becoming Your Warrior podcast.
Thank you, Emma. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm really, really excited that you're here, especially finding out now that this is your first podcast ever.
Yes, it is. You are the one. So thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I've been coached by you. I've got to know you as my coach and as a coach over the last few months as well, and really got to experience the magic that you bring and the presence and the grounding and all your skills in helping me dissolve a lot of stuff that I had going on. But I would love to know how this version of you came to be. So where did this begin for you? How did you get to be this version of you that helps other people?
Good question. No pressure on the delivering on all of that. Really just from my own suffering. Like it's essentially I went through sort of a darkness or dark suffering that really led to an awakening, and through that developed a deep sense of compassion to be able to serve others. And that's like the short version. The longer version is when I went through that, I realized I'd always been helping people and mentoring and coaching and doing things. It just wasn't called like mindset coaching, which I do now. So when I came through this other side of just darkness, I realized my mission is to be a vessel of love and light and serve others. And I had sort of an awakening of an ability to really see and understand people and hold space in a way that would help them find their own internal wisdom. So yeah, that's how.
Yeah. And can you share, I mean, how long did that last for you in terms of going through that dark period of your life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how long did that last for and how did that affect you?
Yeah, it affected me. It affected me like really greatly, probably for at least 6 months, but more like a year and a half. I'm very stubborn, and so putting these tools into place and breaking free from this darkness was a real struggle for me. So essentially, I kind of just got hit over the head by the universe and had this like lifetime of emotions that I had suppressed and repressed. And being like a guy growing up the way that I did, I never cried. I never felt things. Like at least that's kind of how I was raised, not by anybody, but that's what I perceive things to be. So I sort of just hit a moment where it all came up, and then I started to feel kind of crazy or like what's going on. And I was very emotional. I started to cry a lot, and I was in charge of really big projects, contracting for companies, managing teams, and I was not able to like keep it together, I guess is the way I would describe it. And I just felt really emotional. And then through the night times, I really felt like I was maybe dying or something. I was like, what is going on? I'm either losing my mind, I'm dying, I'm going to have to run away. And I just really realized that I couldn't be with myself. I was really good at creating life in what looks like a good way, like successful at sports, successful at business, able to create a relationship, friends. But inside, there was something that was like not okay just being with myself. And when I would stop, my typical thing would be to get a little bit angry or edgy. And then when I had this moment, it was like, now's the time to face all of this stuff. So it was sort of a pivotal moment where I felt like maybe I lost my mind, and then I was just in this struggle, internal battle with myself of like, I don't think I can get through this. It's too much. And I just kind of went really dark. Um, and it was about a year and a half. That was really your question of like struggle, internal turmoil. The worst of it was at the beginning of that period. But it really gave me the tools to start. I had a lot of tools, but it helped me like put things together, that I was playing this human game and not really connected to my authentic self. I had these masks on. I was always trying to be this character that everybody loved and liked, and I was pretty good at it, but it was never me. And that was the problem. I needed to run away. I was like, I need to get out of this relationship. This isn't the one. This isn't it. And I would just constantly need to go somewhere else. And this kind of experience just leveled me to where I couldn't get away from it anymore.
Mm. And so what I guess what action steps did you take, or you're in that dark place. It's obviously very challenging when you're in that place. Like how did you get through that? Like what steps did you take?
Well, I tried everything, every modality. I had acupuncture, I had massage, I did all the different mindset things, with different modalities and people. And I have a lot of tools. I already had studied under a lot of different healers and types of things. But really, the pivotal thing for me was just coming to terms. Can I just be, like, the simple question I asked was, can I just be okay that this is how I feel?
Mm.
Very simple, not easy, because what I was trying to do was fix it, get rid of it, run away from it. Okay, I can't feel like this. I've got to get rid of this. What's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? Okay, what's some mechanisms to cope with this? What can I do to get through the day? All of this kind of rejecting resistance of what's there. And there's the expression, what you resist persists. And I was resisting. And when I really just came to a moment of laying in bed at night saying, if this is how you feel, can you just be okay with it? My answer to that for like a year was no, because I feel like I'm going crazy. And then one night I said, yeah, I can. If this is the way that I feel, I can be with this. And then it softened its grip on me. It's
Mm.
quite simple. To get out of resistance is to come into acceptance for what's there, not to resign and stay there, but just to allow it to be there. And that's a big part of my work, as you know, with people, is getting them into a place of acceptance so that then we can go somewhere. But as long as I'm resisting me, I can't get anywhere. And I'm pretty stubborn, and I resisted for a long time. So that was a pivotal moment for me, was, can I be with this?
Mm.
That question. And I really struggled with that question for a long time.
Yeah. How did going through that, because obviously I know that you were very successful in sports and then obviously in the corporate world as well. I mean, how did going through that time in your life impact your career? Like what happened? What was birthed out of that, I guess?
Yeah, beautiful birthing, really. When I had this, it kind of had a moment where I, lost my mind. And I was over a weekend, and I was managing three projects, multi-million-dollar projects, lots of teams, vendors, people, and I disappeared from work. I turned my phone off and didn't tell anyone, and didn't turn it on for 2 weeks. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I've been fired. Clearly, I'm a contractor. It was easy to get rid of me. Um, and I was still not well. So a couple weeks, I turned my phone on, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Do I even want to go to this job? But I have bills, and I have, a life to sort of deal with. So I was trying to pick myself up, and when I did, I tried to log in. I was working from home. I tried to log in. My account was locked. I'm like, that makes sense. And then I was like, okay, I'll message my old boss. And so I sent him a message, and it's like, I'll call you in a few minutes. And then calls like, what happened to you? So I was thinking like, okay, how do I lie about this? And so I just told him the truth. I just couldn't turn my phone on. I couldn't face this. I've had this high anxiety. I couldn't do any of this. And by the end of the conversation, I thought I was getting fired. I was told I was being a leader in mental health and wanted me to come in and talk to people. And I was like, well, what really happened was on the call, he started telling me about his anxiety and how all this, through this last period, he's had this with his family. And I became, it's like the birthing of the coach started, but of just the listener. And through my release, this like energetic release, I felt this sense of like feeling what he was saying in me. I was like, oh, I get this. And then at the end of the conversation, he's like, I want to talk to you more. I want you to come in and talk to other people. So I went in, and I kind of I kind of reborn into something that experienced, I would call something woo woo before, or a little bit funny, but I could feel like vibrations off of people, or just whether they were okay or not. So I walked into the office for the first time after like 3 weeks, and my boss's boss was walking, and I saw her in the parking lot, and she's like, "Where have you been? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I haven't been okay." And then she starts crying and telling me she hasn't been okay, and all the pressure from the job, being an executive. And we go to the coffee shop, and I sit there for an hour and listen to her. And the next thing you know, I'm in this, it's just everyone wants to chat, and it was created by me being vulnerable. Whereas I used to pretend that I had everything under control, and I was good at playing that game. But when I shared myself, like, no, I've been going through this, I've been anxious, I've been feeling like this, it paved a path, and people walked on it. And so that started sort of the birthing of a coaching business, but I didn't know that then. I kind of was like, okay, pick the career up, get back on track, do the job. The old me came back in and said, get back into this old world. So I did that. But while that was happening, I was getting hit with messages of like, this isn't your path anymore. And
Mm.
it was scary to change paths because I made a lot of money that way. It was pretty easy for me. I got contracts, I made good money. Um, but something was guiding me, or there was something in me that was like, there's something else for you to serve people with, and it's being brought to you by these conversations. And they just kept showing up everywhere I went, with friends, with community. I would share about what I was going through, and it would pave a path, and people would be telling me about what they've been going through and how it's helped them to see someone that they thought was really successful actually have some struggles. And my friends thought I had everything together, and I was like, well, sometimes, but not all the time, because I'm human. And so that birthed a coaching career.
Yeah, wow. And so I mean for you, obviously the idea was being downloaded to you, it was being gifted to you that something else this is something else that's developing now. But did you study with other people, or were you just, using your own intuition, or had you done studies before that?
Yeah, I'd done a lot of studies before that. And then I continued to do studies after that. But I had done a number of modalities, subconscious reprogramming things, all just for personal use. So I'd done this thing called Psych K for many years. I'd done body work, with myofascial release, looking at trauma in the body. I've traveled a lot, been to Thailand with different healers, been to other parts of Asia, all over Central and South America, and just kind of garnered little bits of information. I was doing it, I thought, just for me. And so it was just things that I was interested in.
Mm.
And it kind of came together where I was like, oh, I've been gathering this for a long time to serve others. I just was keeping it to myself. And so, and then, I started working under a couple of coaches. I went through Peter Kern's mastermind around that time. And that was a pivotal kind of element as well, because what he was describing in the way that he delineates this stuff was something that really resonated with what I was experiencing, which was the absence of me and all my stories. What became kind of present was like the real me. And that really resonated. So I did that work with him, and then I continued to do work with a number of people.
Yeah, fantastic. And that journey of, I guess, because I know you've got a really beautiful quote actually on your website, which is it's about when Michelangelo was asked about how he discovered how he, carved David, out of
Yeah,
this piece of marble, and he just said, I just removed all the parts that weren't David. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
David was always there. I just removed everything that wasn't David. And that's essentially the work that I did internally with myself and now do with clients. It's quite simple because there's nothing to add. It's a dissolution, it's a subtraction process, removing everything in the way so the authentic you can be revealed.
Mm.
So I went through that with me, which was a struggle. It was really hard. Um, it wasn't a. It's quite simple, but not easy. Um, so that's that process. It's just removal of all of the masks, the things that I put in the way that I thought I had to do in order to be loved and accepted in the world. And so that became that driver to create life for me that wasn't serving me anymore.
Yeah. And for somebody like, for someone who's listening, who's like, what do you mean the real you? I am the real me, and all that kind of stuff. How would you describe that if somebody was like, I feel a bit lost and I feel a bit uncertain about my life and maybe I feel a bit inadequate, but like I don't know what you mean by the real me. Like how would you describe that to someone who maybe was just at the start of this journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that I would describe that is when you're able to be you with a sense of peace and ease, and you know whether that's there for you or not. So the real you is in the absence of trying to be anything to garner love and acceptance from anyone else. If I think I have to be something, that's not me. That's saying who I am is not enough. I have to be something. So to find that, it's knowing if you feel lost, if you feel stuck, if you feel in those places, it's not you. And the real you is this dynamic being. It's love, it's creativity, it's ease, it's flow. It's not static. I have this type of personality. I'm this type of person. It's always like this for me, and this is how life is. And that's the human game of just really static understanding of everything is this way. And the game that I'm playing is a dynamic one. So who I
Mm.
am are these, I'm love and creativity and a life force energy that flows through this human body that then has fun and creates things. It's like that kid you were when you were 5 years old. You just express. It's just a pure life expression. There's no filter. So it's finding that with some discernment of being an adult and dealing with, taxes and bills and people and that stuff. So there's blending of being an adult, but allowing that pure spirit to come through.
Yeah. How has doing this work and going through that sort of dark night of the soul for you, and coming into this work and discovering the real you, how has it impacted your life? How has it changed your life?
Everything's changed. It's changed everything. Like, this work really does miracles in so many ways, but within my immediate family. My relationship with my wife has completely changed. With my parents, that's the hardest one. I feel like I got through the final stage of this work by having this beautiful relationship with my parents now, and they didn't do this work, I did it. And that's the power in it, is it's not out there, it's in you. And so the impact is I get to serve people. What a blessing that is. Help others create the life, the dream that they want. I've been able to have impacts on my family, nieces, nephews, cousins, uncles, aunts, everyone through various ways. And my parents, I've been able to, like, my mom's really open to this work. I've coached her. I've helped her reframe her relationship with her mom who's passed. That has a big impact, and the ripple effect I can't see. And so this work for me has just created such a depth of like connection and love in so many areas that it makes me get teary thinking about it, because it's just overwhelming. It's a sense of like of 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 awe or something for life that comes through when I see that me going through this actually has served so much. And in that sense, I would never wish that dark night on myself or someone else, but it actually created this beautiful gift for the world, and it was for me. I just couldn't see it until I can see it now.
Yeah. And we were just talking about your mum before, the fact that she took up surfing at 60 and she's just, this amazing adventurous spirit. But you also said that kind of came from you as well, like your call to adventure. Can you tell me about like nature and about the adventures that you've been on as well? I know you mentioned like Central America and South America and
Yeah. Yeah. A big part of my journey was super successful in corporate America at a young age. By the time I was 25, I was managing teams and making a lot of money for a Fortune 500 company, which is just a really big, rich company out of New York City. And I was kind of on this path like, am I going to do this forever? Like till I retire. I had an awesome projection of retirement and money and these things, and I got an opportunity to be relocated to New York City or take a severance pay, a redundancy package, because my office was closing, and I took the redundancy and moved all my things out of my house into my truck and packed up my surfboard, cameras, camping gear, and I drove into Mexico with no plan, no phone, and just the general plan was drive south, maybe get to Costa Rica, which is a handful of countries down. Um, so that was it. I was like, I'm just gonna go camping, go like have experience with local people. I really wanted to learn Spanish, and so I wanted to have this like engagement with community and just an adventure. So I did that, and the plan was for 3 months. And it was interesting because right when I was leaving, I got a job offer for something where I lived, which was California, that I really wanted. And I was like, oh, but I'm going on this trip. Can I start in 3 months? They're like, no, it's now or we're hiring someone else. So I was like, the old me was like, stay safe. And people were telling me, as soon as you drive into Mexico with this truck with the California plates, someone's going to come rob you, and all this, stuff from people that have never been there, projecting sort of all this fear onto a place. And I just took the kind of scary route and said, I'm going into the unknown. And instead of it being 3 months, it lasted just under 2 years, my drive. And I passed through Costa Rica into South America, did volunteer projects, camped, surfed, had military pullovers with guns, police, like, but so many beautiful engagements and encounters with just the local people. It was I thought like I was the one that was like educated and smart, and I went into like, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and found that I was learning from everybody else. Like they knew how to be really present. That was like kind of the start of this presence that I was lacking, was people that didn't have the money, kind of maybe didn't have the choice, but they had a beautiful way of creating community, and people with nothing were inviting me into their homes, making me family, sharing their food, they quite a few of them expect me to come back, and it was such a different thing than the culture I came from, where we're like, oh, I hope I don't see my neighbor and have to wave today. It's like, it was such a contrast for what I was experiencing. And that really is a big part of like an adventure that birthed, because it just kept getting deeper. I drifted down the Amazon on a slow boat, hiked into communities, and brought gifts and things to try to like have an exchange and experience, and stayed with different healers, shamans, and went through like medicines and local things and all kinds of stuff. And it changed my life forever. So yeah.
yeah. And I mean, now how much does I mean, it might sound like a bit of a weird question, but like how much does nature like how how much is nature a part of your daily life now?
Yeah,
Like
it
why? Yeah.
yeah, I feel really connected in nature. And um I've always been a surfer and a beach kid, So that's kind of been something I did, but I would say daily. I go to outside on a walk to the beach, in the ocean, to the rainforest. Blessed to live in Australia, which has so much access to nature, very close by. And for me, I'm, kind of a bird nerd. I listen for the birds, check out what's around, like really tune into what's there. And I find that's a good practice to just becoming present as well as just listening to the ocean, to the sounds, feeling the sand. But that experience with nature for me is a big part of my life.
Yeah, I've got a really loud magpie that I listen to at 5:30 every morning, so that's
What a blessing.
Thank you, Magpie. Thank you. I have my own personal cockerel outside the window, so yeah, that gets me out of bed in the morning. So that's fun. Um, can you share with me? I mean, I think obviously we met when I went through the mastermind with Peter Crone, and
Mhm.
can you explain to me your journey through that process, as in going into that as a student?
Mhm.
Yourself and how you ended up now to be working within that team, so close to Peter and working. I'm not sure of the exact as one of his mentors. Is that the correct?
Yeah.
I'll let you explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No. The mastermind was transformative for me personally, and it really helped me piece all of these modalities together, and it aligned with what I was going through. And then I was still a bit in this space of like the maybe it's the dark night of the soul, but this darkness. And when I came out of it like with an enthusiasm like unlike anything. But what was left behind was my wife, who had dealt with me through the other period. And then we were in this like disconnect. Like she had pretty much set down everything to make sure I was okay for that giant period of time. And so through doing that mastermind, we hired Peter for private coaching, to do couples coaching. We were essentially breaking up, and I had just moved out as a separation, and we were like we couldn't get to a place of like really understanding it, each other, and being in that place of like how to move forward together. So we did some coaching with Peter, which I thought he would reveal to her all of her constraints and limitations that were causing our problems. And he gave me the smackdown and held her in love and gave me the hard love. And I was wrong yet again. It won't be the last time. And so through that process, I got super angry at him, at the, I just had anger that came up. And it really kind of dissolved our relationship down to nothing, which I thought we were like, okay, it's done and we're okay with that. It was more of like a conscious separation, decoupling. Um, and then when we really got to the bottom of it and kind of bared our souls, something new birthed in that moment in my relationship, which is such a blessing for me. And I was such a like amazing wife, like, to put up with me through all of that and just even still. And so as a part of that, I pitched some ideas to Peter while I was angry at him. I said, "Oh, I'm mad about this coaching," while it was unfolding. However, I have some brilliant ideas where I could contribute to your environment. And, he's one of the top, if not the top, mindset coaches in the world, commands a really high fee, works with, professional athletes, billionaires, millionaires, and that level. And there was some space there to serve him in the community. So I pitched some ideas, and very long story of how to create something powerfully, which I work with people that I coach. Long story short, I became one of what's called a mastermind mentor, which is his flagship program. And so now in that community, I guide people where I met you through learning the teachings that he teaches. They also have an opportunity, if you're in that, to get to hire me as a coach. And so that's another role I play there. And it's just been a blessing for me.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said this to you before, but I'll say it again. I just can't, like, for me going through Mastermind 6 with you and obviously the other two mentors as well, but just I can't actually imagine what it would have been like going through it without you guys being there, because my God, the integration that I've had, and obviously doing, a couple of one-on-one sessions with you as well. I mean, like Peter's work is just insane. It's phenomenal, but it's just, there's so much. And to actually have, yourself and the other two mentors just actually support everybody through that and the integration, and just being like, it's okay, you don't have to get it all at once, and like, let's work through this. So yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you've done. It's honestly, it's just been amazing. So very grateful. Um, yeah, I want to kind of talk a little bit about, for you, like, do you have like daily practices? I know this being with yourself and being this real you, and kind of, yeah, just being really at peace with who you are. But do you have daily practices yourself to keep you in alignment, or just to be in alignment, or?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good question. That changes for me over time. So, depending on where I've been on my journey, I would probably have different answers. Like, as I came through and felt really, really good after that period I described before, I put in a lot of practices. 'Cause I was still like, don't slip back into the darkness. Um, where I am now, I've kind of integrated those practices that they come through me automatically, which is some awareness, some acceptance. Like if my thinking and way of just how I feel in a day is off, if I feel anxious or if I feel like I start getting, my thinking gets critical of myself, I'm really quick to see it. So it's not that I'm at all perfect. I still get triggered. I get these things. The amount of time I stay there is short. So the practice for me is recognizing with awareness and then allowing, with the acceptance and letting things be there. And I find they settle quickly. There's a number of things that I do in a journal. I like to send blessings to people, which is just an invisible process that I do inside of me, including sending them to myself. And it's like I can't bless someone and judge them at the same time. So if I'm driving and there's some roadworks and I'm like, look at these idiots, then I go like, oh wait, it's okay, I'll send them blessings for the work they're doing. And I can't do both. I can get back to judging shortly after if I want to, but it tends to remind me of who I'm committed to being and just like being in that place of ease. So that practice works. I like to exercise. I think just getting in nature and moving really helps. There's a number of things I've done in there. So it kind of depends on how I'm feeling in the day. I'm in a very much a like flow way of approaching those daily practices.
Yeah. And do you yourself, obviously I know you have been coached and you continue to work with Peter as well, but do you have your own coach, like outside of that? Like, do you,
I
you know,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And can you
I
tell me,
work with, yeah, sorry, what was the question?
oh no, just, yeah, just tell me why, at the level that you're at, like, why would you still have a coach?
Um, I guess I don't really like see that I'm at any level. Like I actually just see that we're all at the same level. It's more someone like a client would feel like I'm at some level and they're below. I don't see it that way. And that's part of the beauty of the coaching is I'm like you're pretending to be at a lower level. But in my own space, I find it's just been really useful for me. It was something new. I never did therapy. I never talked to anybody. I got it all on my own. I'm a man. I can stack it on and sort out life. No one needs to help me. That version of me is not here. And I find having a space that I can talk into is really helpful for me. And any limitations that come up as a blind spot, typically, as the way that what I think is possible, if I speak that in with the coach that I work with, he'll come in and we'll kind of smash that. So anywhere I put a ceiling on what's possible for me, we make that the new floor. And then I'm like, oh, but I could never get here. And then we put that and smash through. And that's kind of a never ending process. And I find it's just really nice to have like a safe space, someone to mirror me, for me to talk into, to see if there's anything that I'm missing, and just to really make sure I'm like grounded in what I'm committed to creating.
Yeah. And if somebody again hasn't tried coaching, because there's different types of coaching, right? There's like strategy and like action and do this and do that. Like how would you describe your style of coaching? Like what could somebody expect when they come to you?
Um, they could expect. I guess the like common feedback that I get from clients is that they're creating life with a sense of peace and ease. Like that's probably the end product. Like we have these goals in life. I want to create. Some people I work with are executives. They want to do whatever they want to do there. Business owners want to expand their business. Other people are stay-at-home moms and they're just overwhelmed. I kind of have the full range of clients, and what to expect is a very safe space, being seen, being heard, being held at like a highest integrity of who you really are, so that your wisdom can come through. And so it's just a bit of mirroring to see like what are the programs that are running who you are, who do you think you are, how do you relate to life, how do you relate to others, how do you relate to money, to spouses, to parents, how did that create who you are, and what is the story you're telling yourself. And by revealing that, we kind of discover some of the subconscious constraints that are in the way of the thing that you want.
Yeah, beautiful. And I mean, in terms of your vision for your life now, like what do you what's next for you? Like what are you creating in your life right now? Or, is where you are right now just beautiful and that's where you're at?
Both of those things. I'm so blessed where I'm at right now, and I like to be inspired to create. So the old me was creating in order to fill an unfillable bucket. The new me has lofty goals and things that I'm creating. A lot of it tends to be integrating the adventure style travel that I love into my work. So retreats would be something new that I would look to doing, which is just getting people into somewhere spectacular with great food. I would like to eat well, do activities and look at the central processing of who you are in your mind. So essentially, my creations are a little bit more expansion into some travel with this work, reaching more people, kind of helping people suffer less, helping people get into creation, be inspired, and just be themselves. So that kind of has a number of forms, but at the moment, I've got like a really great coaching practice and a lot of work on, and I'm pretty blessed where I'm at too.
Yeah, beautiful. And for people out there who again maybe on this journey, maybe on this path, like what advice would you give to somebody like who is maybe going through a dark night of the soul? They might not call it that, they might not
Mm-hmm.
even have that language, but are going through a really dark time in their lives that they just don't know if they're going to survive. Like what advice would you offer them into
Mm-hmm.
moving?
Yeah. I mean, first thing I would say is it's okay. Like you are where you are. It can feel really difficult if you're struggling. Like nobody gets me, no one can help me. I'm always going to be like this. So my invitation would be to get out of resistance. How do you get out of resistance? Can you just be where you are, which is always a hard conversation to have with yourself in order to get out of resistance. It's like life is the way that it is. My resistance creates a gap, and that gap is filled with stuck suffering and all kinds of stuff. It's like if I injure my ankle, sprain my ankle today, and then I don't like it because I like to go to walks and surfing and volleyball and it's ruining my life, it doesn't change the fact that I have this sprained ankle. Now I'm suffering and have a sprained ankle. So be with the sprained ankle. And if it's just like an internal, mental struggle, the invitation would be to, if you're doing this by yourself, which I don't really recommend, but can you just accept that whatever is there is there? If you can do that, get into acceptance, that's like an exponential leap from wherever you are. If you're in despair and you make a jump to something neutral. You don't have to love it. You don't have to do anything like that, but you just accept it. Like, this is the way that it is, and I can be okay ish with it. Um, that would be a huge gain. And then outside of that, like, find someone, a trusted resource that you could speak into, someone that can kind of hold you through it.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Jesse. And where can people find you? Where can people find your work and what you've got coming up?
Good luck finding me. I'm hidden now. I've got a website, jesse-correll.com. That's probably the easiest place to find me. I do have Instagram and those things. I'm not super active on all the socials and things like that. I just kind of chip away with my clients, let them refer people to me. I get things through the work we talked about with Peter, and I'm pretty low key on all of that stuff, but can find me there. Um, I'm sure we'll share it, but if you, yeah, that's probably the best ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will definitely share your website and your work. And yeah, just thank you so much for your time today, Jesse. It has just been so lovely talking to you. And for once, I get to ask all the questions, which was fun.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this. What's going on? You put
No,
me on the hot seat. No,
I
thank you,
know.
Emma. Yeah, thank you for inviting me and just for being you. You know, your commitment to helping people, getting these messages out, working with people like you do. It's really beautiful, and I'm excited to see how you create the things that you're in the process of creating.
Thank you. And I just want to add to it, I just really appreciate you. And you are just an absolutely magnificent human being. I'm very, very grateful that you've come into my life and very grateful for all that all that you've done for me and, you know, will continue to do for me once we start our coaching sessions again. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for who you are and thank you for just being such a beautiful support and just a beautiful man. So yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Trying to make me cry at the end.
I'm gonna keep going. I'll
I
get
know
them.
the tears are
It's,
there. I'm fighting them back. I don't want to cry in front of everybody. No, it's okay. It's okay to cry, everybody.
it's okay to cry. Yeah. Well,
um, yeah.
thank you so so much. I really appreciate you. And yeah, we will chat soon.
All right. Thanks, Emma. See you soon.
Thank you.